Pope Leo XIV delivered a potent message that underscored the humanitarian and ethical responsibilities of the Church and society, confronting both U.S. bishops on immigration and international news agencies on the defense of truth. His intervention signifies a proactive approach to contemporary global crises, linking the treatment of vulnerable people to the fundamental necessity of objective information. Summary and analysis. The Pope's statements centered on two critical, though seemingly distinct, pillars of modern society. On immigration, during a meeting with U.S. bishops, including leaders from the U.S.-Mexico border, Pope Leo urged the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops to amplify their opposition to aggressive immigration crackdowns. This was prompted by first-hand accounts and letters from migrant families describing intense fear and terror of separation and deportation. Critically, Pope Leo framed the issue not merely as a political one, but as a crisis of faith and morality. He explicitly questioned the consistency of a pro-life stance that simultaneously supports the inhuman treatment of migrants, demanding that the bishops provide moral clarity and leadership. This move challenges the USCCB to overcome internal political divisions and speak with a unified, strong voice aligned with Catholic social teaching. On journalism, in an address to news executives, the Pope focused on the foundational role of the press in upholding truth. He called upon news agencies to act as a bulwark against the ancient art of lying and manipulation in an era dominated by post-truths. He championed a free, independent, and objective press as an indispensable pillar of democracy, insisting that the work of journalists must never be considered a crime. He also demanded the release of imprisoned journalists globally. The Pope's analysis here is a moral endorsement of ethical journalism, positioning the media's fight against disinformation as a societal, not just commercial, imperative. Reasons and context. The timing of these statements is deeply rooted in current events and the Church's historical mission. On immigration, the immediate reason is the visible escalation of enforcement tactics by the current U.S. administration, which has resulted in widespread family distress and fear in Catholic communities served by migrant ministries. By challenging the pro-life inconsistency, Pope Leo is attempting to steer the debate back to gospel values, welcoming the stranger, and reinforce a consistent ethic of life that transcends political party lines. This serves to align the Church with humanitarian principles and maintain the moral high ground in a polarizing debate. On journalism, the call to action for the media is a response to the global erosion of trust in institutions and the rapid spread of disinformation, often fueled by economic pressures and artificial intelligence. The Pope recognizes that when facts are corrupted, dialogue breaks down, making it impossible to address complex issues like immigration, poverty, or conflict effectively. By backing the press, he is defending the prerequisite for any meaningful societal dialogue: shared access to verifiable truth. Consequences and impact. Pope Leo's pronouncements carry significant weight, both for the Church and for the secular world. For the U.S. bishops, the message creates an imperative to act, potentially heightening tensions between the Church hierarchy and conservative political factions, or lay Catholics who support the administration's immigration policies. It forces a public reckoning with the practical application of Catholic doctrine. For journalists, the Pope's backing provides immense moral and institutional validation, empowering them to resist external and internal pressures to sensationalize or manipulate information. The defense of imprisoned journalists also places international pressure on authoritarian regimes. The statements unify the Church's stance on human dignity. They make it harder for Catholics to compartmentalize their moral beliefs, forcing them to see the treatment of migrants as equally important as other life issues. Furthermore, by framing accurate reporting as a defense of the edifice of our societies, the Pope elevates the media's self-perception and their public mandate. Prediction and solutions. The dual focus suggests a continuity in Pope Leo's papacy, linking mercy and truth. Prediction. Pope Leo will continue to champion a cohesive ethic of life that encompasses migrant care, press freedom, and dignity for the vulnerable. We can anticipate the U.S. bishops will be forced to issue stronger, more unified statements on immigration, potentially increasing tension with Washington. News agencies will likely reference the Pope's speech to reinforce their legitimacy and campaign against threats to the profession. Solutions. The implicit solutions promoted by the Pope are multi-layered. For immigration, the Church must offer practical aid at the border while simultaneously engaging in policy advocacy that seeks humane, dignified, and family-centered immigration reform. The bishops must prioritize moral leadership over political expediency. For journalism, agencies must commit to rigorous fact-checking and ethical governance to combat the post-truth environment. Education and media literacy initiatives are crucial to help consumers distinguish between fact and fiction, transforming them from passive recipients into discerning citizens who demand objective truth. Ultimately, the solution rests in restoring a culture that values both the life of the vulnerable and the truth required to protect it.